On this workbook called Phone List, we've got two buttons at the top of column A and column B, and these actually are associated with macros. And right now, this list is sorted by name. But if we wanted to sort it by department, we'll simply click this button. And a macro that we haven't seen yet has sorted the data by department. If on the View tab, we click the Macros button, we see that in this workbook, if we focus on just this workbook, there are two macros already there. We don't necessarily need to see them, but one is called Sort by Department, one's called Sort by Name. We could look at them, but let's say they're working fine so far. We don't need to worry about them. But the issue is, why is this set up and how do we do it? First of all, maybe different people will be using this file, and at different times they add names to the list, they take names out. Maybe they're not too adept at Excel, nor do they need to be, but they simply want to sort the data at different times, either by name or by department. So I'm going to remove one of these and show how it's set up. I'll point to this one and hold down the Control key and then click, and that selects it, and I'll simply press Delete. Now, there are any number of different symbols we could be using here, and there's certainly other techniques for doing this, but one way, and a relatively easy way, is to go to the Insert tab in the ribbon and go to the icon for shapes. Depending upon the resolution of your monitor, you might be seeing a bigger button here. Under shapes, we got tons of choices. I used rounded rectangle there. I'll use it again. Here it is right here. Click it, drag it here. Don't worry about the sizing just yet. While it's still selected, if you want to line up its edges neatly with the top and the left and right side, simply hold down the Alt key as you point, for example, here and drag upward. And then on the right side, do the same thing, also on the left side. And doing a little bit of guesswork and not using the Alt key, make this be about the same size as the other one probably. Another approach could have been we could have duplicated the other button. Anyway, we've created the button, and as long as it's still selected, if it has those so-called handles on the edge, we can also type. So I'll just type in Sort by Department. And as I click the edge of this, I can also, nothing too important here, but jump to the Home tab, for example, and center it top down and also left, right. Maybe make it bold, possibly italic, other things. Change the font size. That's good enough maybe, or bigger, something like that. Make a different color like the other one, if we wish. But the key step here is after clicking outside of it, is to right-click. Sometimes when you right-click, you get a short menu. If that's the case, escape and try it again. But the key step here is after right-clicking in the shortcut menu here, assign macro. And the macro in this case is Sort by Department. There it is. Click OK. Click outside the button. Now let's sort it by name. We saw that work before. Let's try the new one that we just created. Sort by Department. Click it. It does the job exactly. So that's real handy. At different times, you could be using images instead of boxes like this. Now, I wouldn't have a strong reason for saying let's use a car here, but maybe this is a company involved in car repair or car manufacture, something like that. How about a car icon? Insert. Go to Online Pictures. Type in, for example, car. And enter. And we're likely to get a ton of them here. So any one of these. Now, again, this probably isn't necessary, but we'll just pick one of these. For example, this one here. Insert that. It's likely to be pretty big. We could shrink it. And I'm a little hard-pressed to say why we would want to do this exactly, but by right-clicking here, just as we did with the box earlier, we can assign a macro here. So we can make this be, maybe that's going to be for Sort by Name. Click OK. So I want to sort this list by name. We could point to the car and click it. There's no label on there that says that, but it is done. You can imagine in certain situations using other icons, other images that might be appropriate. It's perhaps a little bit of fun and games. But on the other hand, from time to time, that could be something you might want to try. More important, though, is the idea of these buttons here. So at any time, if you want to make a macro work off of a button, and this is designed for macros that are specific for certain worksheets, and that would be the case here. This is a macro that's stored in this workbook, and so it would only be used in this workbook. Put in a button and automatically associate it by right-clicking, going to Assign Macro. Assign it to the macro that you want it to perform as you click it. So once you make the association, click outside of it, you'll be able to click on it later, and it works. So a different technique and a visual technique of running macros.